Welcome everyone to another episode of Football with the Fellas. I'm your man Mazo. And today we're going to talk about the Giants in their last preseason football game against the New York Jets. Well, was it really a game? It was backups against backups, so what could you expect? A lot of errors, a lot of mishaps, misplayed. That sounds like a normal season in your Giant game, but um, there was no Danny Dimes. There was no Dimes. He was on the sidelines though, in full uniform with a clipboard in his hand, but he did not see the field. Nor should he have seen the field in the last preseason game. And by the way, I just never understand why they have the starting quarterbacks even in uniform at all. I mean, he should just wear the jersey top. For there's no reason for him to get into a preseason game, the last preseason game. No reason whatsoever. If the other quarterbacks got hurt, they either put a running back in there to take his place or a safety take his place, or just call the game off. Just call it right there. There's no reason for a starting quarterback to get in the game. But I digress. So there was no Danny Dimes. So there was no one to really, you couldn't talk about him. But Tommy DeVito was in the game, starting at quarterback. And Tommy DeVito did his best impression of Danny Dimes being sacked and chased all over the field by the Jets defensive line. I mean, when I was watching the game, all I could see was when DeVito brought the team to the line of scrimmage, he took 2 steps after receiving the snap, and then he's seeing Jet defenders, defensive linemen, were reaching and like touching him after 2 steps. After 2 steps, they were reaching out and touching him. So what does that tell you? Our backup, and I know they're backups now, but our backup offensive linemen, they're not that good. They're really not that good. So that tells me this. The Giants better have super extreme athletic, excellent starters in the offensive line, which only time will tell. We'll be optimistic about it. Whether it'll be a good unit or not, we'll see. We'll see. But they have to be all pro and actually have to play the entirety of a game and not allow those backup guys to get on the field. Because what I saw in that game, it was like the Jets defensive line were in the huddle, in the Giants huddle, and they knew what plays we were calling, and they knew what snap count it was, because again, it was like the old Jets sack exchange out there with Gastineau and the crew, and they were just like diving over the top to get to Tommy DeVito. It was unbelievable, just truly unbelievable. The game started off bad for the Giants. The Giants get the kickoff. Our return man makes a really good, return. Next thing I know, the ball's on the ground, fumble. Jets get the ball. Great way to start the last pieces of the game. Great way to start the last piece of the game. But again, let's get back to Mr. DeVito. He looked decent out there, when running for his life. But there's one thing I see about him that's pretty interesting. That he is a mobile quarterback. Thank God he is, because otherwise he wouldn't last. He wouldn't last a quarter. I was surprised he made it through through the entirety of the game. But he does have a good arm, and he did play well last year. We'll give him that. He played really well last year when he came in relief after Danny Dimes got hurt. But one thing, he throws a pretty good out pattern, and he threw, I think, maybe 1 or 2 long balls. But one thing I seen in the game, as just analyzing what I saw in the game, was that the Giants, because the offensive line is so porous, and again, these are the backups. I know we're talking about the backups, but the line was so porous that they can only run like slant plays, like 3-step drop, slant, throw it, hike it, throw it, hike it, throw it. No, they don't hold defenders back long enough for a long pass pattern to develop. So we don't use the strengths of, was it Jalen Hyatt and Malik Neighbors? We can't use their speed. how can you use their speed unless you just throw it right from, when you say, it's on three, hut, 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 you get the DeVito gets the ball and just throws it in the air as soon as he gets it, as soon as it's snapped. That's the only way that he's going to be able to throw a long pass. And at least in that game, at least in this game, in the preseason game. But if Daniel Jones has to deal with that type of pressure, we wasted actually our first round pick because Neighbors will not be able to touch a ball at all unless he's going to just run slant patterns all day long. It was just amazing to see that. Our running game, we don't have Saquon, but I wasn't supposed to mention that, but Devin Singletary didn't play. He's going to start. He's supposed to be pretty good. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Again, he didn't play. His backups, the other guys who were in there, they look pretty good, but it's difficult to run and run effectively when there's no holes being opened up by your offensive line. But it was a couple of plays. I will say this. There were a couple of, good running plays that were done, and I was, pretty happy with that. But the Giants kind of would, get a first down, get a second first down, and then the offense would just, peter out at that point, because, once you get first and 10, then you got like second and 15, that's a problem. That's a problem because if your guys are not giving the quarterback, offensive line is not giving the quarterback enough time to at least get into the pocket, to drop back to pass, with a clear pocket, there's no way you're going to see someone, open long. And so one thing I really like to see, I really would like to see this. I wish they had the sky view of the game so I can see the pass patterns that the Giants run, because either these guys are just getting locked up at the line of scrimmage, or these plays are just like they're just terrible. Because I want to know, how could guys not get open in the NFL? I mean, these guys run 4.4, 4.3 40s. You got to get open sometime. There's got to be somebody open sometime. And it just seemed like the Jets have shown the NFL how to play the Giants right now. Again, we knew it was going to happen. This is not, we haven't gotten to the first game of the season yet, and this is just preseason. This is me talking. And I'm not talking negative about my Giants. I love Big Blue. Big Blue. I'm going to be optimistic about them, but also I'm going to be real. And the real is what we saw: backups against backups. And we saw the game earlier the Giants played. When the Giants played the Texans, teams are going to know they can press the Giants. They're going to have everybody at the line of scrimmage, daring, Daniel Jones to throw. They're going to have press coverage on our receivers, and they're going to go after, Daniel Jones. And our guys are going to have to get open off the line of scrimmage, immediately off the line of scrimmage. They're going to have to learn how to hand fight to get off. They're going to have to learn to give them a little of this to get off the line of scrimmage and be ready to catch the ball after like 2 or 3 steps, until some way, somehow, this offensive line is cured of their oops, look out, here he comes type of blocking schemes that they run. But that's okay. That's okay. I'm optimistic that the Giants are going to be okay. I'm believing they're probably going to be probably like 500. If I'm going to, the way I look at it now, they might be at 500, maybe get 9 wins, maybe push out 10. But each game, I'm going to be optimistic about them winning. I look at this game again. It sounds like I'm bad mouthing them, but I'm just what I saw. I'm just going to say that the Giants, they're going to be okay. We have the receivers. We have some really good receivers. And with that, I do believe that Daniel Jones will be able to complete some passes to our receivers. Hopefully he remembers what colors we are wearing. That if we are wearing Big Blue, that he throws it to Big Blue, and if we're wearing the white and blue, then he knows to throw it to that team, because against the Texans, he was in the end zone. Everyone remembers this very early in the game. He was in the end zone and he panicked. And he's been in the league a long time. I know he's human, but at this time you shouldn't be panicking. And he pump faked and then was in the end zone, and then threw a pass and right into the hands of our to a Texan defensive back who just kind of walked into the end zone. Those things can't happen. I know again it's preseason. It was his first game. That's okay. Daniel Jones, the slate's going to be clean. First game, we're going to back you. We're going to be behind you. Giants going to be behind you. The defense looked decent. Did look decent out there. I say they were doing pretty well against the run. There was a couple of pass plays that it was a couple of broken coverages, but all in all, I would say the defense looked pretty good. The backups, remember, the backups looked pretty good. Um, Special teams, what are really special teams these days with that newfangled kickoff? I still haven't figured that out yet, but I'll have it down by the time we get to the regular season. I'll find out what that little rugby looking funky thing going on they got. But it's supposed to help prevent these head on collisions that these huge men do on kickoffs, which I watch, and it does, because there is, if you have some maniac who's like 6'5", 270, runs like a 4'4", 40, and he's coming down screaming at 100 miles an hour, and those two people run into each other, two people run into each other, there could be a lot of pain in that. So the new, you know, the new kickoff, formation, um, it's something that we're gonna have to get used to, I guess, and we'll see if it works during the season. But that's okay. That's okay. I just want to say, being a Giants fan, it's you have to really love the team. You got to really love the team. And but every year during the preseason, no matter what happens, if they win all the games and win no games, we go into the season optimistic. And I'm going to go into the season optimistic. There were some good things that happened in the Jets game. There were some good running plays. There was a couple of, DeVito did hit a couple of guys on slants. Allen Robinson looked pretty good out there. A wily veteran. He should be on the team. He should be one in that receiving wide receiving room. He should be there. Just want it's going to come down to the offensive line. That's all I can say. It's going to come down to the offensive line of how this Giant team is going to fare this year. I put it on them. The big guys up front. Back in the day, the Giants had an offensive line. Ron Johnson. This is going way back. Giants had an offensive line. They would open up holes. They opened up holes for Tiki Barber. They opened up holes for Jacobs. They open up. They not recently, but they opened up a few holes for Saquon, and Saquon shook a few holes open himself. But Saquon's down I-95 right now, but we can't talk about it anymore. But Saquon, we miss you, but when you're still cool with us, Saquon, but Devin Singletary, I believe he'll take over. And I believe Singletary has, if I'm not mistaken, it looks like he has on Saquon's number. That's something else right there. If he has on Saquon's number. I believe I saw that too. That's interesting that he would do that. But it is what it is. That's okay. So the analysis of this last game is Giants lost, but it doesn't really matter in the preseason what your record is in preseason. You just want to get better each day. Each day, each preseason game, you want to get better. You try to get better. You try to find the positives in the game. One thing I do remember, it's not positive, but the Giants secondary has to do a better job of tackling. Not arm tackling. I mean, put the shoulder in there. I mean, they got to do a better job at that. But that's kind of like around the league. There's a lot of guys they just don't wrap up and tackle anymore. They look to get the big hit. And so, a good running back could, if he bounces off that, they're gone. So I just want to see what happens with the cuts are coming up in a couple of days. The first couple, last few cuts for the preseason coming up. So hopefully there will be, not hopefully, but there will be some offensive linemen who will be available that some teams just couldn't keep. So hopefully the Giants will go and pick up a few guys on who got cut, bring them in camp, and hopefully they can work out a bit better than the backups that we have right now. But hey, the Giants again, we're gonna be optimistic with you. We believe you can do it. The slate is cleared. Right now, the season is going to be 0-0 as far as wins and losses. We're going to get out there. We're going to do our thing because you know what? It's all about Big Blue. Until next time, we'll see you. And remember, it's about Big Blue, baby. All about Big Blue. It's Mazel. I'm out. Peace.
Hey everyone, this is Clay from Brooklyn from Football with the Fellas. Thanks again for checking us out. We are just about to start the regular season for the Giants in 2 weeks, for everyone, but for our Giants in 2 weeks. Open up week 1 against Minnesota Vikings at home, a game that I think we have a reasonable shot at winning, and I would like to think we should win, especially considering that their rookie quarterback is out for the season with injury, and they're going to be starting Sam Darnold, who I don't think is anyone we should be afraid of. However, as the preseason winds down and wraps up, I want to take a quick look back on the last couple of games. So last week we played against the Houston Texans. That game was a disaster. We didn't look good at all, except the offensive line looked pretty good the first couple of series when they were playing. Daniel Jones didn't. He got better as the game progressed, but again, that was against their backups, against the Texans' backups. When their starters were in against our starters, he made some mind-numbing decisions and looked terrible, and then went on to play a little bit better as the game progressed. So listen, I don't have high expectations for Daniel Jones, but he's going to be our quarterback, right? I don't see anybody better than Daniel Jones walking through the door in the next 2 weeks that's going to suddenly take over and be the number 1 quarterback. Daniel Jones is going to be the guy at least till the trade deadline, barring injury. So we just got to hope that he gets better, that some of that was rust. Obviously he hadn't played since his injury last year. Some of it was a lack of familiarity with his new receivers and pass protecting, and hopefully that gets better. But again, the pass protection looked better against the Texans. Yesterday, we played the Jets. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see that game yet, but from what I've read and from the highlights or lowlights that I've been able to find online, the offensive line looked terrible. Now, it wasn't starters except for John Michael Schmitz. It was the backups plus John Michael Schmitz. So I'm not as worried about it as I might have been in years past, but it doesn't bode well. I mean, Tommy DeVito got sacked 8 times yesterday. That's not good. That's not okay. At least one of which was the seemingly daily whiff by Evan Neal, who was in at right tackle. Someone blew right past him and sacked Tommy DeVito on one highlight that I saw. And then, of course, Evan Neal got hurt again. Go figure. Evan Neal, ankle injury again. 350-pound men with foot and ankle issues, that doesn't seem like a good thing. He's had difficulty in pass protection as it is, even when he is healthy, and he has recurring problems in his lower extremities. That's not going to bode well for him. So I'm frankly not expecting anything out of Evan Neal this year, certainly not at tackle. Maybe he comes back healthy and maybe we move him into guard. I'd be more than happy to give him a shot at guard. Big bodies that aren't very nimble, maybe they are better suited at guard than tackle. And he clearly is a huge man and a powerful man, so maybe he can help us there. But I don't have any expectations for him this year at all. And if he pleasantly surprises me as a depth guard, great. John Michael Schmitz, honestly, I'm not sure what to make of him either. I mean, he is only entering his second year. He had a terrible year last year, but there was some extenuating circumstances. First of all, he's a rookie. Second of all, he was surrounded by bad guards that also got injured a lot. So a rotating door of guards that really weren't very good, not to mention 3 quarterbacks. He had to work with 3 different quarterbacks. So there's a lot of reasons why John Michael Schmitz didn't look good last year, but he really didn't look good. In fact, Pro Football Focus, who I'm not a huge fan of their rankings, by the way, but the fact is they had him ranked 36 out of 36 centers. There's only 32 teams. So if you're ranked 36th at anything, that doesn't bode well. That means everybody's starter and several people's backups were rated higher than you. That's terrible. So 36 out of 36 in centers. Like there was no 37th. They only ranked 36 centers, and he was 36th. So I expect he is better than that. I don't love their rankings all the time. I probably see him as 28th best ish. That's still not okay. Will he get better this year? Sure, but he is 25 years old. I don't know what we think his ceiling is, what his upside is. He's not going to get that much stronger or faster than he is at 25. He'll be surrounded by better players. He'll be more experienced, but honestly, it's time to look for another center, in my opinion. We've been using Greg Van Roten at center in his absence this preseason. So when John Michael Schmitz couldn't play, sometimes we put Greg Van Roten in at centers. Not all the time, but sometimes. But then that makes us weaker at right guard because that's Greg Van Roten's position is right guard. So if we have to move him from right guard to play center, then we just got worse at right guard to try to get a little bit better at center. And that's not usually how you want to fix these things. Let the man play right guard. That's what he plays best. We need that too. And let's go out and get a center. Now, we just freed up some more cap space by redoing Andrew Thomas's deal, and that gives us, I think, something like $18 million in cap space, which is quite a bit of cap space. Tuesday is cut day, so every team in the league has to cut down to the 53-man limit by Tuesday. So there's going to be roughly 47 players from 32 teams getting cut on Tuesday. That's a lot of bodies. So are we going to be able to find a cornerback, an interior defensive lineman, and or a center out of all those bodies? I imagine so. And like I said, we've got $18 million. Maybe we can find a pretty decent one and afford to pay a decent wage to a decent player at one of those three positions, at least as depth, if not as a starter. I talked last time about trades, so I'm not going to go back there. If you want to see what my suggestions were for trades, go watch the last episode. But we could also make more trades or different trades after Wednesday when every team has made their cut downs. So they're going to see, who is available as well. So when by maybe Friday or Saturday, when most teams have kind of resettled with who they're going to sign from the waiver wire, we may be in a position to add by trade after the waiver wire. By the way, we have the 6th pick in the waiver wire, so because we have the 6th pick in the draft, so the waivers should be friendly to us, right? There's only 5 teams that get a shot at a player before us through waivers. So if anybody is on waivers, we have a decent shot. Okay, as we move into the regular season, I'm going to just say that I think we got better on the offensive line, other than center, like noticeably and significantly better. That's going to bode well. I think a healthy Daniel Jones is probably going to play better than Daniel Jones played last year. Will he be better than Tyrod Taylor? I don't know. Will he be better than Tommy DeVito? I don't know. But he'll be better than he was last year. So we should have an improved starting quarterback play from week 1 behind an improved offensive line. And we now have Malik Neighbors. We have a solid, wide receiver 1 that we've been talking about ever since Odell left. So the receiving core looks better. Theo Johnson looks to me like he's going to be a really good tight end over the course of the season. I'm not expecting to be a stud right from day 1, but he's got the skill set and the tool set and the work ethic, it looks like, to turn into a really good tight end. So I feel good about our ability to throw the ball. Obviously, we got worse at running back. Don't get me started on that again. I'll just say that the variety of running backs that we have brought in this year looks to have a good combination of skill sets. Devin Singletary, Tyrone Tracy, the young men who we drafted last year, Eric Gray. This looks like it gives us some variety of skill sets. Dante Miller, they call him Turbo, man can fly, bringing him in as a change of pace back as well. We've got some options in the backfield. They're not Saquon, but they are going to get the job done behind an improved offensive line. The defense, we'll see. We've suffered some more injuries on defense, so at least in depth at linebacker. So we don't have as much depth as we thought we'd have on paper at linebacker, but Bobby O is a stud. So hopefully that's enough to plug enough holes to augment the work that the people up front are doing to stop the run. I like this kid Elijah Chapman a lot. Obviously, Dexter's a beast. Obviously, Brian Burns is a beast. Kayvon Thibodeau, I think, is going to come into his own and become a beast. So as far as pass rush, we should be fine. But stopping the run, I hope that we have enough bodies to occupy blockers so Bobby O can come in and make the tackles like he's done his whole career, and that we have enough linebackers that are healthy to support him, so he's not the only one in the linebacker in the second level that can make a tackle. The DBs look young and inexperienced and scare me, quite honestly. I'm really hoping we add a cornerback. Uh, Still enough time and enough money to pursue someone, but we need another body back there with some experience and some ability. Special teams look solid. Graham Gano is obviously a little bit older, but someone I think we can really count on. Our punter, Jamie Dillon, looks like the Scottish Hammer is back and probably going to be fine. He shanks one every now and then, but has a strong leg. And these new rules in the return game, especially on the kickoff return, who knows? Who knows what anybody's return game is going to look like, or a kick coverage game for that matter, with new rules. So we'll see. So overall, I think the Giants are going to be in every game. I think our defense is good enough to keep us in every game. I think we are a 500-ish team. I could see us winning anywhere from 6 to 9 games. Again, we don't have any depth, so that's barring injuries. We get a couple of key injuries, Dexter Lawrence, Andrew Thomas, and we might be, drafting in the top 5 again. But if we stay relatively healthy, I expect us to win somewhere between 6 and 9 games. We had a lot of last-minute breakdowns last year that went against us, games that we probably should have won, against Buffalo, against the Jets, against the Rams. So if some of those break our way this year, maybe we win 9 games. If not, then we go back to 6 or 7 wins. But that's how I see this year coming up. Love to hear what you guys think about what I think about how this year's going to look for us. Thanks for watching. Again, Clay from Brooklyn, Football with the Fellas. I'm out.